Welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline live in the BPTV studios. Thanks for watching our show each week. We appreciate it. It's on Tuesday through Saturday night, 7 o'clock to 8. So if you miss one, you'll catch one right back there. We appreciate you. Thanks to all of you watching on Comcast 7, only in Bethel Park. Then you can watch Verizon 32 in Bethel Park, and then all the way from Cranberry, Wexford, and all the points in the Pittsburgh area. So we appreciate all the great feedback. And we hit a brand new high on Facebook, 6,514.
Wow.
I asked a couple people last night to like the show, and they did. So they boosted us up. So we appreciate that. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. I got Chip Hayner with me and Smoking Jim Frazier munching on some pizza from Olive Oil's Pizzeria. 412-831-1900. Check it out. They were running $5 large pizzas last week. No sale this week, but a lot of great pizza. And call in there, 412-831-1900. Got another couple promos. The Historical Society in Bethel Park has the Schoolhouse Arts and History Center. Donate some money to them. They do a lot of great stuff here in our area. They rent out the building. They have different events there. And next week, they have some events starting at 6:30. I may be doing a couple interviews before I come to do Pittsburgh Sportsline.
All right.
So I've been asked by Dave Cable to maybe open an intro there at the Schoolhouse Arts and History Center. They're having appetizers. You know, I may take one. It's possible. But I will have our pizza here. I'll pick it up, drop it off, and then run to the schoolhouse.
I was going to say, get a couple of Ziploc bags in your pants pockets. That way you won't have it.
Maybe that just set something outside for me after
Bring
we're
some
done.
chicken wings back for us.
Well, maybe after the show I can go and close the party out. So they're having a party there. We'll see what happens. We always support Stay Joey Strong. This is Joey with DIPG, dreaded brain cancer disease, died before his 9th birthday. Donate some money there and check out the different events that they have happening here. They had a flea market just recently. They got their 5K coming up, walk and run, and people dress up as super characters, so it's pretty cool. We'll film that. That's coming up. Then if you need money in Bethel Park, the bpcf.org has money for you from $100 to $5,000. Check it out. Go online, get an application. Any Bethel Park group's project or activity could be sponsored. So check that out. Then there's a commercial that's getting famous here on BPTV. You might have saw it before the show. Dave Cable had a little fun with me. Transposed my face on the Uncle Sam's and I Want You at BPTV. We got Devin Shea adjusting some cameras in here, and in the control room we got Steve, and we have a new intern, Noah, helping us out. So thanks to these guys. We appreciate all the hard work they do, and we're looking for more BPTV volunteers. Check it out. Now we're going to start our show off with What's on Your Mind? Smoking Jim Frazier.
Thanks, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. And if you want the green,
Coming at you.
you got the C, Levine.
Nice catch.
And got my representing my Cubbies hat today. My Cubbies is on a
Nice
collision.
Crawford hat.
You mean Crawford. Crawfords.
My Cubbies is
You're
on
in
a
Pittsburgh.
Crawford
collision
Grill.
course with the Dodgers.
Crawford
But,
Grill. Wasn't that an all-black team back in the day in the Negro League?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And,
You're representing them pretty well.
And it's amazing. I watched a documentary today on Sugar Ray Robinson. Very
Get
interesting.
on.
Very
I've
interesting.
seen that
Probably one of
before.
the greatest fighters pound for pound of all time.
Hey, did they put
Unbelievable.
his pink Cadillac on
They
there?
sure did. It was
When
on
he took
there.
it to Europe, it was a huge hit.
Wow.
Yeah, he took it all the way
I
across
know he
the
took
ocean.
his entourage
Did
to Europe. I didn't realize that.
Did Sugar Ray fight Jake LaMotta?
Yeah,
Yes.
5 times. Beat him 4. Jake beat him once.
Jake was a tough son of a
Yeah,
gun.
never
Yeah.
been knocked down in his whole
He
career.
never took a step backwards, did he?
No, not Jake.
Go
But,
Sugar Ray.
But what's on
What's
my
on
mind?
your mind?
First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to the control room, my man Noah, the rookie of the year, Steve, and Devin Shea. Always great to have those guys on board. But what's on my mind is Usain Bolt getting beat by somebody older than him in his last race. Usain Bolt is the greatest sprinter of all time. Well, the greatest since Bob Hayes. And Bullet
Wow,
Bob
that's
Hayes.
going back some years.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I ran track in college, and I noticed something in that.
We're still checking those records.
Yeah, there you go. I noticed something in that 100-meter dash that I thought was a little strange. It's because Usain Bolt seemed to be stuck coming out of the starting blocks, and usually the bigger the meets, the best officials. It's almost like in the Super Bowl, the referees is the best of the best that referees the Super Bowls. In the bigger meets like the World Games, the Olympics, any kind of championships, the best referees, because if you go into almost any lower level meets, there's always false starts.
Well, what the heck happened to bring this conversation up?
Yeah, you rarely see a false start in a big meet. It's because the referees, the big-time referees, officials, will tell those guys how they're going to call it. You know what I mean? And, a lot of referees, their cadence are different. And they pull those guys together.
How about the gun when they hear the gun?
Yeah, when they pull those guys together, say, on your mark, get set, go. Some guys are a long time, some guys are short, so they let you know what their cadence is going to be. That way you won't be any false starts. Usain Bolt was sitting in the blocks when everybody was out, and he still came back and almost won. And the reason I brought that up is because August 2017 will probably go down in history as Upset August, because we know McGregor was going to knock out Floyd Mayweather. So
McGregor?
That's it. McGrady.
You don't even know his name now.
He's Irish.
McGregor.
And I'm McFrazier for the rest of the month. Floyd Mayweather Sr. calls him McGregory, so I'm
You're all
closer
confused.
than that.
Okay.
But Conor will knock out Floyd. That's August 26th. We're coming over to Chip's house to watch that fight.
Oh, you are?
I got $5
You
on
better have
it.
a good
I got
telescope because
By that time, everybody will buy the fight, man. Everybody will want that fight.
No, they're not.
you can give me the money to buy the fight.
Sales are down on that. People aren't buying.
It'll explode, man. It's going to
Nah.
go through the roof.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
They'll wait on Facebook to see what
the
happens.
MMA community will not let me down.
They're letting you down.
I can't wait to see that fight.
Thanks, Smoking Jim.
And that's what's on my mind.
At least we finally got down to it in the last
Upset.
few seconds, McGregor.
Upset August 2017.
Okay. Chip Hayner, what's on your mind?
Thank you, Alan, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to our humble sports talk show this evening. Jim's going to have a little snack while I go on and on.
Watch your fingers.
Like I've been known to do. That's why my hands are right over here in front of me. I'm going to go home with all 10. But what's on my mind is I'm very much excited for the next 7.5 weeks of Pirate baseball. Because here is a team that has done nothing but wallow in mediocrity all year. And look at where they're at in the standings. They're only 4.5 games out of first place.
Yeah.
Now, here's an interesting little tidbit to think about. Back in 2015, that was the year when the Pirates won 98 games, okay? Mm-hmm. And we came up 2 games shy of the St. Louis Cardinals. It was also the year that we got beat by the Cubs in the wild card game. On the same date that year, we were 6 games out of first place.
Wow.
So, we had a team that won 98 games and didn't seem like it had a chance to get to first place. Now we've got a team that everybody has written off, and all they do is they hang around, and they hang around. And if the Cubs continue to wallow in mediocrity the way they have been all year, don't be surprised if there's a surprise come the end of the September, beginning of October. I'm enjoying every game. I was at 3 games this weekend. 2 wins, 1 loss. Oh, well, you can't win them all, but I'll take 2 out of 3 every day. The Pirates can just focus their energies on that. I think they're going to do very well. You know, the only thing that the Pirates have done consistently this year is to be inconsistent. And I think they have the ability to be able to play with the best teams in the league. They just got to come out every night and play every game like it's their last one. And I think everything will fall into place. Our pitching staff, I'm very impressed with this year. All these young arms, they're learning how to pitch. Trevor Williams pitched a gem last night. Chad Kuhl's on the mound tonight. I like your chances. That's what's on my mind.
And
Very
one
good.
thing, excuse me, Machine. One thing I say again, if Dan Rooney was alive, this would never have happened. Pittsburgh Steelers never would have ran a camp game the same time the Regatta and the Pirate games going on, especially since after Three Rivers Stadium went down, the Steelers got rid of most of the parking spaces for financial gain. So that's again.
So now we're going to criticize the Steelers for wanting to make money, because we already do that with the Pirates, okay? Because it's a taboo that the Pittsburgh Pirates actually make money. Because
But did that upset you that the Steelers had
No,
that at the same
no.
time? It didn't affect your parking or anything?
no, it didn't affect me at all. I was at Hershey, PA on Sunday, so I wasn't on.
Oh, you wasn't there.
It doesn't
no wonder.
bother me, because what I have done, because I go to about 25 Pirate games a year, and I go to at least one Steelers game, and I park up by the paint can, okay, the PPG Paints Arena, and I hop on the tee and I take the tee over, and I don't have to deal with the traffic on the north side. I don't have to worry about fighting for a parking place. Take the tee back after the game. 15 minutes later, I'm in my driveway.
A lot of complaints, though. A lot of complaints, I heard.
Who's giving them to you, Smoking Jim? Who are you talking to?
The man in the street.
Well, you know, I mean, I have learned how to avoid the aggravation. Just got to make some adjustments, that's all.
Especially when
There's a will if there's a way. Or
I
there's
got
a
it.
way if there's a will.
I got a good deal. I never heard of Michael Kors. I don't know if you guys heard of that. They got purses and stuff for women. I bought a nice woman's watch right out of the trunk of a car on a hill.
There you go.
Along with the Crawford grill hat.
Where's it at?
Huh?
Where's the watch
Yeah,
at?
Gotta see who I'ma
if you
give
look
that
real,
to.
if you
Got a
look real
good
hard,
deal.
it's not a Rolex. It's probably
Yeah,
just
that's it.
Polex.
Got a good deal, bro.
All right, let's move on. I forgot what's on my mind. You guys just started chatting away.
Oh, we do that.
Who would even bring up about the parking there and what the Steelers have done? They're $1 billion corporation.
But you know they had their
They're
fun
$1 billion. I didn't stutter. They're $1 billion corporation. They've been making money for years. All right, they're valued at $1 billion.
Wow, that's huge.
As I
I
say
thought
it
it was
again.
a couple, but you know,
Well, at least $1
what's
billion.
What's $2 billion when you've got one, right?
Well, what did it cost them? What did it cost them?
It's just another
$3,000
Wow.
for winning a horse race, or a couple horse races? Was it $3,000 in 1933?
That's something.
Now it's $1 billion, as I said for the 5th time. What's on my mind is Steelers and injuries. Smoking Jim alerted me to the whole secondary's hurt or crippled. What is even going on? Le'Veon Bell was just sitting there working out in Miami. Got his coach. He could care less about this preseason. He won't be back until the season starts. That's what I hear. So I'm not concerned. Tomlin's not concerned. They said he'll be in shape for the first game, and we'll see how long he plays. He has a history of getting injured or suspended, so maybe we'll put that on hold this year. But other than that, I'm excited about the Steelers, and that T.J. Watt seems to be impressive from what I hear from camp on him. And they said he got a little emotional talking the other day. He's usually pretty straight-faced, but he got emotional there about the fans and stuff here in Pittsburgh. So got a #1 pick that's trying to produce, and they're working him. So to me, that's a good sign. What color is he, Smoking Jim?
He's white,
Thanks.
just like my favorite cake.
Thanks. I had to beat you to we need white cornerbacks, but we don't have them. So
Yeah.
that's
How
what's
about
on.
Senquez Golston? Has he gotten on the field yet?
No, he
3
may
years
not.
in counting.
He may not. That's what's on my mind, and we'll be right back with some fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Hi, Bethel Park. Remember me? My name is Jason Planitzer. I was the host of a little show here. You may have seen it. It was called The Jason Planitzer Show.
What would you say your experience at BPTV, how has that had an impact on your life?
I found my voice. I learned how to be funny. I learned how to create things. I learned how to collaborate with people here. I developed an interest in film and comedy and making videos. It stuck with me. It continued through my life. I got into working on motion pictures. I now I'll produce small videos. I'll work with producers on commercials, television projects, feature films. I scout locations on TV shows and movies, which involves me reading scripts, finding the locations that need to be shot, and collaborating with the director and production designer to find the perfect spot. It all started at BPTV for me.
Hey, thanks Al Levine, the Talking Machine, and Chip Hayner. But Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac is way back in 1990.
Whoa!
That's going backwards.
27
27
years.
Has it been that long?
Well, if you do the math.
Well,
yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
say being that you just celebrated your 29th birthday.
There you go.
Again.
I didn't think about it that way, but my number one rated quarterback in that draft was a guy that only started 2 years at the University of Maryland. His name is Neil O'Donnell. And the reason that I rated Neil O'Donnell as high as I did wasn't because he could bench press 400 pounds, which he's still one of the strongest quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Wasn't because he comes from an athletic family. All his older brothers were great linebackers and tough guys. You know, it wasn't because, of course, that he had above average mobility and speed, which he did. It wasn't because he was tough, and it wasn't because of his...
I'll ask, what was it because?
Yeah, definitely wasn't because of his ability to be raw.
Did he have
huddle.
sweeties that followed him?
Yeah, he might have had that, but, you know, because he was a quiet guy, never said much. Reason I rated him so high was, number one, he made everybody around him better. And two, he knew how to move the football, matriculate the football down the field. I've been dying to use that word.
That's a $1.50 word.
That's it. That's a $1.50 word.
First time
And-
ever on Pittsburgh Sportsline. Matriculate the ball
Now I
down
know
the
where you
field.
got that stack
That's
of
it.
words.
And by contrary, when Jay Cutler came out of Vanderbilt, I had a notation in my draft report that I wouldn't take him in any round. He had all the ability in the world. He was fast. He was a baseball player. He had a gun for an arm, but he made nobody around him better. Was a horrible leader. I never watch what a guy does. I watch how he does it. And Jay
You're
Cutler.
going to watch what he does in Miami?
I'm going to do that, and that's the reason why I even came up with this subject this time, because Jay Cutler played 11 years in the National Football League. He had 8 sub-500 seasons. Only went to the playoffs one time, and was on some pretty good teams. And this guy's a cancer. He don't love the game.
Hold it. He just was going to be an analyst.
Yeah, he was going to
No,
be.
he's not going to be an analyst.
Yeah, he was going to be an analyst, which is a joke to me because you got a lot of people. I think that what did Howard Cosell call it? The jockocracy or whatever he predicted years ago. You really got people that go to school, that study hard, that's been very experienced, and when it's their time to be promoted into the booth, you get guys like Romo and Jay Cutler that come straight off the football field and get the plum jobs, and I think it's really ridiculous. There's nothing Jay Cutler has to say that I want to hear.
Some Steelers, that's happened to them.
Neither did anybody in the Bears huddle last year.
Yeah. So that's what's on my mind. You know, I had Neil O'Darnell that didn't have the intangibles as my number one guy, but when Jay Cutler came out, he was everybody's number one, and I had an asterisk that I wouldn't draft him in any round, and both of them proved me right.
And what does this say about Colin Kaepernick, that somebody like the Miami Dolphins would rather have somebody who has absolutely no history of success as their fill-in quarterback when they had Matt Moore, who did a good enough job filling in, you know.
Yeah, he did.
Now, how do you think he's going to feel, being that, you know,
Disillusioned.
Ryan
He's going to be
Tannehill goes
disillusioned.
down. He figures this is my opportunity to start, and then they're going to bring in Jay Cutler, who's missed half a camp already, and run him out there.
Well, you know, we don't take into consideration feelings. I could care less about Matt Moore's feelings, but I know if I was Matt Moore, the first thing I'd have said at the press conference was, "This is my job. I don't care who you bring in here. He ain't beating me out." And
they'd say, "Sit yourself down."
Yeah, that's the attitude I would take, man.
I think the head coach would go, "Sit yourself down, son.
So
I'm bringing my man in."
That sounds kind of Bubby Brister-ish, you know. Yeah. Remember when Bubby came in? He said, "You write it down. I'm the man.
I'm the man.
I'm the man. You write that down."
He was the man. Some of the time.
Dumb as a box of hammers.
So that's it.
Thanks, Smoking Jim Frazier. Appreciate that.
Good evening and thank you, everybody, and welcome to Chip's Trivia Time. Of course, I've got plenty of baseball trivia. There's tons of it out there. We're going to start on August the 2nd.
Whoa.
August the 2nd, 1906. A team that became notorious for their involvement in the fixing of the World Series, the Chicago White Sox. In 1906, they were called the Hitless Wonders. The Chicago White Sox began their American League record, 19-game winning streak with a 3-0 win over Boston. Wow. The record would be tied by the 1947 Yankees. That's a record that stood a little bit of a test of time, 41 years. Mm-hmm. Also, one of the greatest pitchers of all time, probably the second greatest pitcher of all time, being that the award's named after the greatest pitcher of all time, Cy Young, okay? But the big train, Walter Johnson, on August the 2nd, 1907, made his major league debut with the Washington Senators and lost 3-2 to the Detroit Tigers. The first hit he yielded was a bunt single by no less than Ty Cobb. The Tigers beat the big train 7-6, exactly 20 years later on Walter Johnson Day in the nation's capital. Wow. That would have been 1927 when his career ended up. Now keep Walter Johnson in mind, there's more to come. Also on August the 2nd, 1979, very tragic day for the New York Yankees. The captain of the team, Thurman Munson, died in a plane crash. Remember that day very well. Very, very sad day. Also on August the 2nd, one of what probably could have been one of the greatest players of the 80s, his high school teammate Darryl Strawberry being the other one, had they not dabbled in that Bolivian marching powder, they may have had Hall of Fame careers. But Eric Davis led off in 1987, he led off the bottom of the 11th inning with his 30th home run of the season to give the Cincinnati Reds a 5-4 victory over the San Francisco Giants. Now, this is August 2nd, 1987. Davis's homer made him the 7th and the earliest player in Major League history with 30 home runs and 30 steals in the same season.
Wow.
And, if you remember watching in the late 80s when the Pirates of Jim Leland, they played the Reds in the NLCS when the Reds won the World Series that year, when Eric Davis lacerated his kidney or something like that, trying to catch a ball out in the outfield. And
that's right.
I can share a few stories about him off the air with my dear friend Jim, and I'm sure he will find amusing, but that is not for publication. Next, we'll go to August the 3rd. Now, August the 3rd, 1933, Lefty Grove of the Philadelphia A's became the first pitcher since August the 2nd of 1931 to shut out the New York Yankees 7-0. And that was the Yankees of Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, just a litany of Hall of Famers. And Jim, my friend, brought up the Negro Leagues.
Yes, sir.
And on August the 3rd, 1948, Cleveland's Satchel Paige made his first major league start and went 7 innings to lead the Indians to a 5-3 victory over the Washington Senators. Wow. Now, what Satchel Paige's age was when he pitched that first game is anybody's guess. Could have been anywhere between 40 and 60, but some of us will never know the answer to that one. August the 3rd, 1961. This was almost 1 year to the day after I was born. It was 11 months. The Pittsburgh Pirates scored a 19-0 victory over the St. Louis Cardinals for the largest shutout score in a National League night game.
Wow.
In August the 3rd, 1989, the Cincinnati Reds scored 14 runs in the first inning of a Major League record 16 hits and went on to beat the Astros 18-2. So the game was over before they even got out of the first inning. 14 runs. Sounds like somebody had eaten their Wheaties. So now we go back to 1907 again. And this is on August the 7th. 5 days after he pitched his initial game, Walter Johnson, the Big Train, won the first of his 417 victories, leading the Senators to a 7-2 victory over the Cleveland Indians.
Wow.
417 wins. You know, there's a lot of guys that pitch their entire major league career and don't pitch in 400 games. Pretty amazing statistic there. In 1956, once again, Satchel Paige.
Wow.
Okay? August the 7th, 1956. Well, according to this, he was 50. The largest crowd in minor league baseball history, 57,000, saw 50-year-old Satchel Paige of Miami beat Columbus in an International League game played in the Orange Bowl.
Wow.
So
they knew there'd be a big crowd.
they said he was 50, and it's anybody's guess. We never saw his birth certificate.
He still had it.
1999, first time and only time this has happened in Major League history. Wade Boggs became the first player to homer for his 3,000th hit.
Yeah, that's a rarity.
Well, because it never happened before or since. So, tip our hats to Wade Boggs. Also, August the 7th, 2004. One of my favorite pitchers of all time, Greg Maddux, became the 22nd pitcher in Major League Baseball history to win 300 games. He ended up with, I believe, 350 some odd victories in his career. And I did share a statistic about him last week and his uncanny control.
Sure.
It's not how fast you throw the ball. Just like real estate, it's location, location, location. All right, and it pains me to make this announcement, but I will have to recognize it because it did happen regardless of the fact that I don't recognize it. On August the 7th, 2007, Barry Bonds hit home run number 756 to break Hank Aaron's storied record.
Wow.
Now, just to show you that I'm not the only person that sees no significance in Barry Bonds' accomplishments, but the commissioner of baseball and Hank Aaron himself were absent from the game. It shows you how much they respect they have for cheaters. Just my humble opinion, folks. I'm sure other people have differing opinions, and you are entitled to them. August the 8th, 1903, a week after pitching his first doubleheader triumph.
Wow.
Iron Man Joe McGinty of the New York Giants scored a double victory over the Brooklyn Dodgers, 6-1 and 4-3. And in the second game, he stole home. The only thing he didn't do was sell popcorn in the stands in between innings.
What a performance.
But, can you imagine this? A pitcher pitching 18 innings in one day, winning 2 baseball games. And
stealing home.
Now we've got pitchers that specialize that pitch the 7th inning, the 8th inning,
Ninth
the
inning.
9th inning. And a good start for a starting pitcher is 5 innings. Oh, how times have changed. Major League Baseball has been doing everything they can trying to speed up the game. And just an idea of what could possibly be, but I don't think it would be nearly as enjoyable. I think the 3 to 3.5 hour game is a bit long. Howard Emke on August the 8th, 1920, of the Detroit Tigers, pitched the fastest 1-0 game in American League history in 1 hour and 13 minutes for a victory against the Yankees. That's quite an accomplishment.
is.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're in, you're out, boom, done. 1 hour, 13
Wonder
minutes.
how many pitches he threw.
Have to do some digging for that one, Alan. 1988. Okay, and I'm sure this will be continued on August the 9th, but the first night game scheduled in the 74-year history of Chicago's Wrigley Field was postponed, with the Cubs leading the Philadelphia Phillies 3-1 after heavy rains started in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Wow.
So it must not have been meant to be for them to play night baseball in Wrigley Field, but they do it now, and they still play a majority of their home games in the afternoon. Oakland, August the 8th, 1992, got a couple more here. Oakland's Dennis Eckersley had his consecutive save record snapped at 40. His consecutive save records, 36 straight to start a season, 40 straight over 2 seasons, ended trying to protect a 2-1 lead in the 9th inning against the Royals. And last but not least, just to talk about the storied history of the New York Yankees. 27 world championships, or is it 28?
I think 27.
27 world champions. Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, Whitey Ford, Yogi Berra. The list goes on and on. But I think the greatest Yankee of all time, and I do believe that this is a gentleman that does have a chance to be the first unanimous selection into the Hall of Fame in the history of Major League Baseball. On August the 8th, 2010, Derek Jeter passed Babe Ruth on the career hits list, leading Boston to a victory. Now, the thing that makes this significant is that Derek Jeter is the only Yankee who played his entire career as a Yankee to get 3,000 hits.
No overrated.
I'm telling you what, you look at it. Look at his numbers for his career:
No
5 world
overrated.
championships,
No overrated.
3,600 hits. He's nothing overrated about what he performed in his
If he
career.
if he goes in unanimously, he's overrated.
I'm telling you what, he's got the credentials. But nobody has made it yet. The kid, Ken Griffey Jr., came the closest. Somebody will withhold his name just to be that person. But to just think, Babe Ruth had 2,874 hits. There are 73 hits in his career. And, he didn't make it to 3,000. And I've heard a lot of talk lately on talk shows, and some people say that Barry Bonds may have been the best player that they've ever seen play in their lifetime. And, he is one of the best players that I saw, and some people say that they think that he's the greatest hitter that ever played the game, and I don't think that that's even close. Because if you look at what his career batting average is, which is what I measure a hitter's prowess at.
I like on-base percentage.
No.
Well, he was walked so many
His career batting average was not even 300. Now, there are players that have retired after the end of their careers where their career batting average was 365. Now, that's what I call a hitter, okay? You look at people like Ted Williams, they were up
Ty
in the mid
Cobb.
300s. You know, so to say that he was one of the greatest, you know, the sad thing about Barry Bonds is that he was probably one of the best players of his generation, and he would have been a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. There was no reason for him to, you know, it was.
There were two reasons.
It was an ego.
Sosa and McGuire.
It was an ego thing with him, but I mean, if he would have just let his play on the field stand, he would have probably ended up with somewhere between 500 and 550 home runs, which is still extremely respectable in the game of baseball.
I would take the home run record over a world championship and the Hall of Fame. So Barry did the right thing.
Okay, well then, you know, when he
Most
whines,
people
when he
aren't like
whines
that.
about not getting into Hall of Fame, he got the money, and you know he sold his soul to the devil. So you know what?
Most
Okay.
people aren't like you, Smoking
He
Jim,
got
an
a record.
NFL scout that doesn't really know baseball. So
You're going
That's
to
the
say he got a
category
record
you're
that
in.
won't be beat, but it won't be
That's the
recognized.
category
I said
you're
the
in.
same thing about the with the Warriors. Is the
Hold on,
70,
how'd we get to basketball?
70
you just skipped from baseball to
70
basketball. You're just an
73
NFL scout.
73-9 is more important to me than the championship.
If
'Cause
you
somebody
don't win
wins
a
a
championship-
somebody wins a championship every year,
Right.
but nobody will break 73
Okay, so-
wins, and nobody will break Barry.
So- So
Bonds.
the Patriots in 2007 finished the regular season 16-0. They ended up the year 18-1.
Well,
that doesn't make them a great team.
Let me ask you this:
They didn't finish it.
other than the heavyweight champion of the world, what's the greatest record in all of baseball and in all of sports? Is the home run record. It's always been the greatest record.
I
in
thought
sports.
it's the hit record, Pete Rose.
That's up there. But the home run, being the home run king in baseball, Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, now Barry Bonds. That's the greatest. That's the greatest
Before
record.
Babe Ruth, the
in
home run
sports.
record was like 10, 12, 15 home runs.
Yeah,
He sort of changed
he
that.
sort of changed that. And other than being a heavyweight champion of the world, the greatest.
Well, even
champion.
you know, at one time being the heavyweight champion of the world really meant something. When Sonny Liston was the heavyweight champ,
Yeah.
when Cassius Clay beat him, it became Muhammad
Joe
Ali.
Louis.
And you know, you had Muhammad Ali, you had Larry Holmes, but now there are just so many champions
Yeah.
that you know, somebody like Vladimir Klitschko just decided to
Who cares?
retire. And oh, he was heavyweight champion for like nobody knew he was heavyweight champion because there's 8 of them. You know, I mean, just they watered it down. It's
So
like
I think when you have a champion in the United States, a heavyweight champion, a world champion from the U.S.,
What
it'll
color?
be any color, especially if it's a white hope. But
Okay.
when Mike
I'm just
Tyson,
checking with
when
you.
Mike Tyson had it, it was pretty important. But I think now that it's overseas, well, you're
yeah.
right. Then you make my argument. Barry Bonds' record is more important than the heavyweight championship of the world. Thanks, Chip.
Only on Pittsburgh Sports
And you
Line.
know, my dear friend Jim, we will have to agree to disagree.
I want to thank you, Chip.
I'm
for,
not going to give him his props.
We'll move on and thank you, Chip, for your trivia with an assist from NFL Scout for whatever reason.
Like that.
On location, great promo, Dave Cable. Thanks guys in the control room for putting that on. We had one of our best shows at Hollywood Lanes in Dormont last night, 7:30 to 8:30. Nice crowd, great guests. I had 2 lawyers on the show. Bill Kai,
Yes,
who does a lot of things in the community for veterans, disability, people with disabilities, and other people in the neighborhoods. He's involved in a lot of great things going on. Check out the show when I post it tomorrow. But Bill Kai, a good friend of ours, has helped with boxing and does a lot of great things in the community. Even talks about scoring 30 points in a basketball game way back when. So just a good show. Alexander Gaminsky, one of Smoking Jim's guests, was a friend of mine before he met Smoking Jim. He got to be on the show talking about being a sports agent in the past year, so had some good talk there. Talon Cooper, a bodybuilder, champion bodybuilder, He'll be going for Mr. Pittsburgh again next year.
Yes,
He
sir.
finished third or second in that. So he's going to try that. He was talking about bulking up to 215 pounds and getting down to 183.
Wow.
Something Smoking Jim is working on. At least as far as I notice. And then we had Deborah Clark, who wrote a book and is an award-winning author now. Good friend of our show. I think it's the 4th time she was on our show. So we had a great time. I tried to mix her up and mess her up by bringing about what she thought about OJ, but she handled it perfectly.
Yeah, she did.
So she did a great job. We had coaches from Canon-Mac High School. I'm honored to have Rick Bell, the head coach of 16 years for basketball. Just a great guy, great stories. And then Mike Evans, the former head coach at Cal University for 12 years, is now the Canon-Mac football coach. He left practice last night to come to our show, and then he went back out to practice again. So it was an honor to interview both of those guys. A lot of great information, a lot of guys working to keep the kids off the streets in Canon McMillan and other schools. So I respect all that. It was a pleasure doing the interviews. And Rick Bell's brother had sold me a couple cars from Bob Smith Ford during the day.
Wow.
So got a little history with his family. So it was nice touching base with him and the other guys, and we'll try to have him back with some players during their season. So stay tuned for On Location. Next week, Olive Oil's Pizzeria, as you know, sponsors this show. They opened up a new place at 930 Brookline Boulevard. That's 930 Brookline Boulevard. They're doing their grand opening with Pittsburgh Sportsline next week. $5 large pizzas all day long. With us, then we're filming 7:30 to 8:30. Caricature artist, my friend Vince Ornato, will be doing caricatures. He does them in 3 minutes, charges a few bucks. We'll have some fun with that. And we're going to do a great show there for Frank, the guy who owns Olive Oil's Pizzeria. Maybe you'll get to see him on TV. Frank Finero. We'll check it out. But that's where we'll be next week, On Location in Brookline Boulevard. Stay tuned.
I've shown an interest in making home movies. Me and some buddies would just grab a camera and you just start making these videos, and then you realize at some point that this isn't just a hobby anymore. It's something that you actually want to pursue, and there's this great facility right down the road, BPTV. A lot of people will try to do these productions on their own, and one of the things they don't have is the equipment, you know, but right here is everything she needs in one nice little bundle. There's lights, cameras, reflectors, dollies, all kinds of little knickknacks, like anything that you'd want to use that you would need for a production, you have it right here, like it's all right here. You can make your own feature movie just with the stuff from this studio. Come meet Dave Cable, let him show you around, and I think you'll realize that this is something that you could fall into regardless of your level of expertise, whether you're a beginner or even if you're a more advanced learner. There's something here for everyone, and I feel that you just need to come through and just be a part of the experience and just watch and learn, and you know, let Dave be your guide. BPTV. Come volunteer. If it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be here.
BPTV. Come on in, make a show. It's still fun after all these years.
Chief, I hope you had your dessert, and anybody else that's watching our show that's eating, we appreciate it. Digest your food. We're going to talk about the Buccos. I just saw a great game when I got home after the show last night. Trevor Williams pitched a one-hitter. Wow. Then the relief pitcher come in, got guys out 1, 2, 3, and they closed it out a 1, 2, 3 inning. Great pitching. Jaso hit a 2-run homer.
Great pitching, great defense played last night. The catch that McCutchen made.
I saw it.
You know, they did something on StatCast, which they ran a probability of what the chances were of that ball being caught. And they said that there was a 33% chance of that ball being caught.
Wow.
And it didn't look like McCutchen was going to get it, and he ran it down, and it just looked like, you know, Andrew McCutchen has been playing the kind of ball that
the last 2 months
you would expect to see Andrew McCutchen playing. Now, he had, on May the 27th, his batting average was at 200. It was at the Mendoza line. Now his batting average for the season is 292. You know, he's just lit up the league in June and July. And to be very honest with you, you know, the Pirates looked to move Andrew McCutchen over the past winter and through last summer. And I think, you know, what they have come to the realization is that the future of our outfielder is not Gregory Polanco and Starling Marte, who have been nothing short of being disappointing this year. And I think by far, without any question of a doubt, that Andrew McCutchen is the best outfielder in the Pirates outfield. And I would love to see the Pirates offer an extension to Andrew. I think like maybe, you know, they're saying the asking price is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 years, $74 million. That's about $18.5 million a year, which would be a real bargain.
Yeah.
Considering, and I don't think that would mortgage the Pirates' future, where an 8 or a 10-year contract would do that with the guaranteed money. I think it would do a whole lot to build up some more goodwill with this fan base, because you know you've got so many different negative forces that are trying to.
You're part of that.
Trying to turn the fan base against the team because they're blaming everything that happens negatively on the fact that the owner won't spend money. And
Just ask Smoking Jim.
I've never heard of anything more ridiculous in my life. You know, the Pirates' problems this year are not up from a lack of money that was spent or not spent. It has everything to do with the performance of the players on the field. That's where it begins and ends. Managers, you know, and the coaches, they do their part, but when it comes down to it, they're not standing in the batter's box. They're not, you know, getting the clutch hits when they need it. They're not making the errors. You know, so I still support the team. We'll continue to support it through good times, through bad, through 20 years of losing. I was still going to games, still rooting for my Buccos. I still have hopes for them this year. And I believe that they're setting themselves up to be successful, not only this year, but moving forward. This young pitching staff of ours, they have been one of the bright spots in the performance of this team this year. Garrett Cole has been a little bit of a disappointment, but he's been solid.
Wait till they trade him. It'll be fine.
Jameson, Garrett Cole will pitch for the Pirates through the 2018 season. I don't believe that they'll trade him until 2019. That's when last year of his arbitration eligibility.
I'm just putting it out there.
But you know, Garrett Cole will not finish his career in Pittsburgh. I would love to see Andrew McCutchen finish his career in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But we've got a lot of good young arms. You've got Tyon, you've got Cool, you've got Trevor Williams. And the ironic thing is that last year everybody was watching the pitching staff of the Indianapolis Indians, Pirates AAA team, and everybody was talking about Glasnow and Brault and this and that, and one of the pitching coaches said, you know, the guy that's the best pitcher of the bunch was Trevor Williams, and here he is. He's been nothing short of solid all year. And Chad Cole is learning how to pitch in the major leagues, and he surprised everybody with a 98, 99 mile an hour fastball. They didn't know he could throw the ball that fast. But what he's finding out, that he's more consistent, his pitches have more movement when he throws them 94, 95, but knowing that you do have the ability
can
to
crank
throw
it.
that high heater past somebody if you want to. You know, but he's learning the art of pitching, and
Is the
it's
Pirates 500 yet?
No.
And you're excited about the pitchers?
55 and 57, Jim.
And you're excited about the pitchers
Yes, I
there?
am. Because I will always look
I
at
thought
the
you were talking
glass
about the amazing
as
Mets.
being half full. See, I'm an optimist, Jim, not a
No,
pessimist.
but the way you're talking, I thought the amazing Mets. You were talking about the amazing Mets. I thought you
When?
were doing trivia. You know,
What
you
year?
talking about-
What year were the Amazing Mets?
69.
There you go. I
you
just
wouldn't
get ready
have
to
known
say that.
You wouldn't have known that.
69.
But there's a
hey,
lot-
Chip,
there-
just to
there-
interrupt you you're on a roll in the pitching, and I heard something over the weekend. I was listening to the radio, the fan, Todd Douglas or something, and they were bringing up about Glasnow. Searage has had a lot of success with adjusting pitchers, form and all these things. Well, they said something was wrong between what Glasnow was doing in the minors and how he was pitching in the majors. He didn't feel comfortable. They changed some things with him. So he went back down to Indianapolis, started just throwing the ball the way he knew how. Forgot what they told him, and he's successful again.
He's successful.
So I think of this with different pitchers that before Searage that they'd adjust their style. They say he's thrown too hard on each pitch. Let the guy burn himself out by 6 innings or whatever he got. But that's how he grew up throwing the ball. Why do we need to adjust him? So Glasnow, I got hope in the second half of the season that if they bring him up like he is,
I wouldn't.
there could be something
I would
for a
ex-
spot start or two.
I would expect to see him in September, as well as Stephen Brault.
Yeah.
And I would not be too surprised.
Well, Brault's a little young, but
to see one or both of them on our pitching staff next year, because
But that gave me some hope with Glasnow that he's back to his form, one of the best pitchers in the minor leagues.
And another thing that's a huge positive, from the time when the Pirates started being successful, through the Pedro Alvarez failed experiment at first base, the Pirates have found their first baseman. Josh Bell, and I believe he's going
power
to,
he
and
has.
he's the power he has. And I want to tell you another kid, that Jose
He's
Osuna.
batting 250.
Now Osuna is naturally a first baseman, and he doesn't play the outfield well.
Right.
Okay, but if he's able to play first base, he should be able to play third base. He's got a strong arm, and the problem that you have at with the lack of a everyday third baseman, and I think if Osuna can get some time in, they spend a lot of time with him practicing third base, see if they can get him some time in game situations.
Because third
between
base is
them.
easier to develop a guy than first base.
Yes,
Let's
it
just
is.
call it
All you
like
got
it
to do is
is.
catch at first base. You ain't got to throw.
That's from an NFL
You got a third
scout.
baseman in Gong.
Well, he-
Gong-
Gong-
Gong's gone.
Gong may never play another game in
Why?
America.
Why?
Because
South
they won't
Korea
give him a
won't let
visa
him
to
out.
come back to the United States.
Talk to President Trump, who loves sports, and he can get it done.
He doesn't
Okay.
support
He-
the Pirates.
He's
though.
close with North Korea.
doesn't
He's
support-
close with Korea.
He's
yeah.
going to bomb them. He's going to bomb them. Come on.
He's
Jim.
going to turn it into a radioactive waste dump, and there isn't going to be anybody left in South Korea.
He's ready to bomb them, buddy.
You know?
Follow the news instead of the snooze.
But the Pirates have to plan like Young Ho Gong is not
Is
going to
gone.
be back. He's gone. He ruined it for himself.
No, he didn't.
He drank too much.
Yeah, well, you
He's
know what?
over 21. He can take a drink.
Yeah, but he got busted for DUIs, my friend. I'm totally against that,
No,
and
but-
I don't blame him for losing the
He
visa.
didn't kill nobody.
Yet.
How do
Get
you
him help.
know?
Get him help.
Yeah,
Hey,
well, that's what they're trying to do, and they won't let him out of the country.
They're going to help him.
99% of the people are this close from. There's people that drove home, probably,
Jim,
and didn't know how they got home and got themselves
Jim,
straightened away.
I can honestly say that I was that way at one point in my life, but I realized that, you know what, being lucky isn't good enough. I want to make sure I wake up every morning, so I
agree.
don't drink and drive. But yes, people do that. But when you got that much money and you've got the drivers available to you, and yet you still continue to get behind the wheel of a car drunk, I count on him for nothing. He's done.
But he's a great player.
He was a good player. He wasn't a great player. I mean, come on. He never hit 30 home runs.
He had some
never batted
surprising power.
300.
He's
you know?
on his way.
Yeah, he's on his way
Smoking
to the
Jim.
drunk tank is where he's at. But
Come on, Smoking Jim.
that's all we got to talk about with the Pirates. Let's talk about Jim's favorite subject, the team that
Doesn't want to be great.
doesn't want to be great. They only want to be 8-8. Now, so tell me how the Steelers are going to take one of the highest octane offenses in the history of football and win 8 games. Tell me how that's going to happen.
Well, one thing is they ain't going. I know one thing: they ain't playing man-to-man coverage with the
offense.
defensive backs that they have.
We were talking offense.
And the best defense is a great offense. And that's correct. But you got to get some offense in there. You know, Steelers don't have a running. Their top 2 running backs aren't in camp. The second
Toussaint's doing fine.
maybe the second best
Toussaint.
best wide receiver in all of football, Martavis Bryant.
Why is he not yet on the field? What have
He
you?
needs
What have
a
you
rehab
heard?
place.
What have you heard?
I heard that he did not contact rehab facilities.
He was supposed to have one.
Yeah, that's the first thing that you're supposed to do, and he never. They need to have a rehab facility in Pittsburgh that he's going to go to.
Here's the question I have.
he
Just
never
even
connected.
knowing that, and the way Steelers hold certain players' hands, why wouldn't you have held his hand and said, here's one right here on north side?
Yeah.
Because there's rehab facilities everywhere here in Pittsburgh.
They hold the wrong hands.
Look at you're in rehab.
They hold the wrong hands.
They didn't hold his hand.
Yeah, they're hold hands, but it's the wrong one.
So, and this is one of the things that I think is, we've talked about, there was one team in the NFL last year that averaged over 30 points a game. And that was the Atlanta Falcons. They averaged 33 points a game over 16 games. Now, we talk about, Ben talks about how great the offense is, and Todd Haley talks about how great the offense is. Steelers only averaged 25 points a game last year, okay? And for having the best running back, the best wide receiver, and probably, would you say a top 5 quarterback?
I'd say top 2.
Okay, Jim will put him in the top 2. Okay,
He loves Roethlisberger.
Then
He loves him.
Why is our offense not winning more games for us?
They didn't score enough points.
I just, we've got an offensive
No
line.
Bruce
that's been together.
Arians.
They've got an offensive line that's been together for a number of years now, and they've got everybody locked up for the next few. So they'll be
one of the
together
best
for the next.
Well,
offensive-
here,
the
I
best
hate to bring
offensive
out
lines
one of
in
the
football.
points, but I got to agree with Smoking Jim. Todd Haley has done certain things. He's protected Ben better. But some of his playing calling, you can have it. He's not stellar at that. He got all these tools, and maybe they're just protecting Ben better, which that's a good thing. That'll keep Ben around so he's not going to retire right away. Whoa, this time's running by. I knew he'd come in for a reason. Well, hey, that's our Steeler talk.
There you go.
We got Smoking Jim to say something. Thanks for watching our show. We appreciate you. Thanks, Chip. Thanks, Smoking Jim. Thanks, Devin Shea, for coming in. We're about ready to wind this show right down to out the door here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you next week. Olive Oil's Pizzeria, Brookline Boulevard, 930 Brookline Boulevard. Stay Joey strong.